over the Christmas break, I am hoping to find lots of time to just sit and read. And on my reading list this year, I've gone mostly for short stories, just because they're easy to dip in and out of. Number one on my list this year is this lovely book called After Midnight, and it's 13 short stories by Daphne du Maurier. Now, I've never read Daphne du Maurier, and I think probably like most people just immediately think of Rebecca and perhaps Jamaica Inn. But there's a couple of stories in here that I didn't know she'd written. So she wrote The Birds, the Alfred Hitchcock film, and a story called Don't Look Now, which I think is another famous film I haven't actually seen. But I didn't know she wrote short stories. I've read one or two in here. They're a bit strange, I have to say, but they're very readable, and quite short stories. So they're supposed to be chilling tales for the dark hours. And as I say, they are a bit strange, but I think most people would enjoy this. I found it quite easy, the stories that I've read so far. So yes, After Midnight, Daphne du Maurier. My next one, I was chatting to somebody in the waiting room. We often have bookish talks in the waiting room, and we were chatting about Georges Simenon, who wrote the Inspector Maigret series of books, and I think there's been a few television adaptations as well. No, I've never read Georges Simenon, and this one is a festive one. So it's a Maigret Christmas. This is on my Kindle, which is why I've got this on a bit of paper. But it's again short stories, mostly about Christmas, I think. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I've seen a few of the things on TV, but never actually read them. So that's another one on my list. This one I'm really looking forward to. I do actually have this in hard copy, but I haven't brought it in today. It's called Diaries of Note, and it's by Sean Usher, who's also done a series of books called Letters of Note and other things, I think. Just picky bits again that you can just dip in and out of. This one is 365 diary entries, covering every day of the year, and each one by a different person. Historical, it goes back to Christopher Columbus back in 1492, and right up to modern day, David Sedaris, who's one of my personal favourites, and his published diaries are worth reading, if you're not too easily offended. So, and there's all sorts of people in here, sportsmen, celebrities, artists, lots of people who aren't well known but have significant things to say. So I'm looking forward to sitting down. You can just sit down and read one a day, or just pick it up and dip in and out. So yeah, really looking forward to that one. I love a diary. My next one, I'm in two minds about this one. I have actually started this. This is a new novel by Ken Follett, and it's along the lines, I think, from all the reviews that I've read, of a bit like Pillars of the Earth. I think most of us have read Pillars of the Earth, about the building of a cathedral way back in the day. This is in a similar vein, but it's about the building of Stonehenge. I haven't read great reviews of it, and I have started it, and I'm not really bitten by it yet, but I'm going to persevere with it, because I did enjoy Pillars of the Earth, and I do quite like Ken Follett. But the jury's out on this one, but if you're interested in that sort of thing, it might be worth picking up. Anyway, that's my pick of things to read this year. Yeah, I don't know if any of those appeal to you. Hopefully they do. The diaries one, I think, would make a great present if you're looking for a present for somebody a bit last minute. But yeah, hope you have a lovely Christmas and find lots of time for reading.
So this Christmas holiday, I'm determined to catch up, well, not even catch up, but to start reading a couple of books that have been lurking on my desk, on my bedside table, for what seems to be ages and ages and ages. These are books that have either been given to me, or I've browsed around the bookshop, thought I'd like to read, but never quite got round to it. Now, the first of these books is a fascinating sounding book. It's by an author I don't know, Noah Angel, and it's called Ghosts of the British Museum. And it sort of is a novel from what I can gather, but the premise is that the author has heard murmurings in the British Museum from various staff members of odd happenings, sightings going on in the museum, and he starts investigating these. And in a way it's quite topical, because it appears that what's behind all of this is some of the artifacts and even some of the human remains starting to make their presence felt to the staff members. And from what I can gather reading the book, or reading the cover of the book, he then starts delving into what these artifacts, what these remains are trying to say to the public, and their desire to be returned from whence they came. It all slightly smacks of Lord of the Rings in that sort of manner. But anyway, it's a very interesting sort of read. It seems to have got very good reviews. So I'm looking forward to reading that. The next book I'm definitely going to make a start with, but I'm not sure how far I'll get, is a book by Sam Dalrymple. Now, Sam Dalrymple is, yes, William Dalrymple's son. He a Scottish author, but raised really in Delhi. If I remember rightly, he graduated from Oxford, having studied Sanskrit. And he then went on to study in the Middle East as well, and spent a lot of time in the Far East. Now, this book is called Shattered Lands, 5 Partitions and the Making of Modern Asia. And it really delves more diversely and quite deeply, from what I can see, into the ramifications and the fallout from partition in 1947, not just on the Indian subcontinent, but beyond that. And it sounds like it really is going to be an interesting read. He's better known, I suppose, as a filmmaker. He's made a couple of short sort of docudramas, again on the same sort of subject, of partition in 1947. So yes, quite looking forward to reading that. Shattered Lands, Sam Dalrymple. Now, what else have I got here? Now, this is a book I know nothing about at all. It's by an author called Chris Cleave, and it's called The Other Hand. And I just found the reviews, if you like, the little sound bites, really interesting. Ambitious and fearless, Guardian. Shocking, exciting and deeply affecting, The Independent. Searingly eloquent, the Daily Mail. And reading the back of the cover, we don't want to tell you what happens in this book. It is a truly special story, and we don't want to spoil it. Nevertheless, you need to know enough to buy it, so we will just say this. This is the story of 2 women. Their lives collide one fateful day, and one of them has to make a terrible choice. 2 years later, they meet again. The story starts here. It goes on to say, once you've read it, you'll want to tell your friends about it. When you do, please don't tell them what happens either. The magic is in how it unfolds. So, sounds really interesting. So that's the third book I'm going to try and read. Chris Cleave, The Other Hand. Now, whether I'll get through them or not, I'm not quite sure. But I hope you've got your reading lined up, and have a very, very Merry Christmas. Thank you.
The book I've chosen to read this Christmas is The Happiness of Dogs by Mark Rowlands. I chose this book because I loved the front cover. It's got a beautiful picture of a dog on the front. It's a drawing. It's got a ball in his mouth and he looks very happy. The strapline on the bottom from The New Scientist says, a fascinating take on what it's like to live like a dog. Well, I have a dog at home. I have a big black Labrador called Rodney. He has a very good life. So if this can give me some sort of insight into his life on how to make it as good as Rodney's, then I'll be a very happy person. So that's the book I'm going to read over Christmas.
So my Christmas read is Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. I've been reading this, well, I've been thinking about reading this for a few years now. It's been on my Kindle, but I finally got into it. I'm about sort of 50% of the way through, and so far it's a really magic book. It's written about sort of a Korean family who moved to Japan after the Second World War, and the sort of hardships and struggles that they face living over there. And Pachinko, the name of the book, is about a Japanese pinball game, and I think it's supposed to be, you know, all about the ups and downs of the game and how it mirrors within the life of this family. And it sort of focuses on the matriarch of the family, a character called Sunja, who is, you know, trying to make everything work and make ends meet in face of hardship. And it's really interesting learning about the kind of cultures so far, of Korea and also Japan. Yeah, so I'm about sort of 50% of the way through that, and I'm really enjoying it so far. And then another book, if I am lucky enough to get through one book, I'll be amazed. But I also have Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club on here. So I'm looking for something quite light and funny. So that's another one on my Christmas reading list. But wish me luck, because with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old running around, I always hopefully bring this, and quite often it stays in my suitcase.